Disneyland made some pretty major announcements on Monday morning. We're talking more shows, more events, even the return of a fan favorite, and more. Disneyland in 2024 is going to be something very different than what I had imagined it would be. A few months ago, I made some predictions about what to expect at the Disneyland Resort in 2024. And as of this morning, I am happy to report that I was very, very wrong on a lot of that stuff. Now, the story's not fully written, of course, but with the announcements made by Disney on Monday morning, we can safely say that Disney is moving forward in 2024, not back. What I'm talking about, the setting, if you will, is the 2024 Disneyland event calendar published by Disney on the Parks blog on Monday morning, something that they've never done before as far as I can recall. We got the full schedule of events for 24, including dates, and the best part is some really surprising detail that's got me a little bit excited about 2024. For example, Star Wars Season of the Force is going to be back this year. It'll be running from April 5th through June 2nd, and that will, of course, obviously include Star Wars Day, May the 4th. And recall, this year we had what they just called it Star Wars Month, which was basically Star Wars Day, but for a month. Next year, we see the return of Star Wars Season of the Force, an event that began, if we recall, when they updated Innoventions. They turned Innoventions into Star Wars Launch Bay. Part of that launch was Star Wars Season of the Force. Per the update, we'll see the return of Hyperspace Mountain, specially themed food, drinks, and merchandise, and new scenes on Star Tours. That's something that I believe they teased that at the last D23, that we're going to get some new scenes for Star Tours, which, by the way, in and of itself is interesting. That gives life to an attraction that is on its last legs, or seemingly is. But the fact that they're putting money and interest into Star Tours is a good sign for those of you who want to see Star Tours stick around for a little while. So there's that, plus something that I am very curious about. At Galaxy's Edge, they're going to be adding, quote-unquote, fresh perspective to the fireworks show that you can see from Galaxy's Edge. For those unaware, watching fireworks at Galaxy's Edge is really an interesting alternative to those who can't. If you can't catch it on Main Street or at the Hub or whatever, your options are Small World and Rivers of America. There's also Galaxy's Edge. Now you can see the fireworks from there. It's actually quite beautiful. It's set wonderfully behind the spires over there by the Millennium Falcon. Actually through the whole background of Galaxy's Edge, because it looks great because they launch those fireworks very close to where you are in Galaxy's Edge. But one thing that has always been missing from that experience, from seeing fireworks from Galaxy's Edge, is music. You don't get any music. You don't get Star Wars music, nor do you get the music that's part of the actual show, the music that you would hear on Main Street, the music that you also get if you watch the show from Small World or from Rivers of America. You get no music, it's just fireworks. But per the update, we're going to be getting galactic music sweeping through the spires. So that obviously tells us we're getting Star Wars music to accompany the fireworks, music that you could hear only when you're in Galaxy's Edge. I gotta assume, you think they're gonna play the music that you get from Return of the Jedi? I mean, they kind of have to, right? If we required them to give us blue milk at Galaxy's Edge, I feel like the same has to be true for music that accompanies fireworks. It has to be, or it has to include at least, Return of the Jedi music. Now, will that be the John Williams music, Victory Celebration, or do you prefer Yub Nub? Is that your song of choice? I kind of think it'll be the former. It'll be the John Williams music, but part of me wants it to be Yub Nub. Really, maybe that's because I'm an old person and I like things to be the original versions of it. So I like Yub Nub. But let us know. What do you guys think? Would you prefer John Williams or Yub Nub to play while watching fireworks in Galaxy's Edge? So that's Galaxy's Edge. Speaking of things returning, how about Pixar Fest? Pixar Fest is coming back, you guys. Now, actually, this may be a new event for some of you because they only ran it just the 1 year, back in 2018. Pixar Fest is back in 2024 from April 26th through August 4th with a specific theme of friendship and bringing people together. Well, that's actually the same theme that they had for Pixar Fest back in 2018 as well. And it's also the theme of a new parade. We're getting a new daytime parade for Pixar Fest, Better Together. That's the name of the parade. That's the name of the show. And it's part of the friendship theme of Pixar Fest. And just saying those words out loud right now, new daytime parade at DCA, I mean, that makes me happy. That makes me really happy. You guys, it's been, when was the last daytime parade at DCA? The Pixar Play Parade. And it was all right. It was okay. It wasn't the best parade of all time, But it was fun, and I like Pixar. It was better than no parade at all. It certainly is good to hear, at least that for a little while, we're going to have a parade. Now, the scale of this parade, I'm hoping is going to be something close to at least the Pixar Play Parade, even though this is just going to be a short-term event, a couple of months. It does give me hope that there could be a future for that parade to stick around, maybe full-time, sometime in the future. It's difficult to keep a parade going at DCA because of all the events, the food and wine style events that they do. But I would very much like to see this thing stick around while they're not doing a food and wine festival. Now, the only details that we have for how this parade is going to look are the 2 concept photos provided. We got a turning red float, which is absolutely mandatory because Big Red Panda is almost Baymax level of cute. Should be a meet and greet as well. I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm looking forward to seeing the panda on a float. And then we've got the Pixar lamp-themed float with some dancers in very colorful costumes. Those costumes look like Magic Happens levels of extra. Now, that parade is going to be at DCA, but there is going to be a new show at Disneyland as well. Pixar Fest extends to both parks, Disneyland and DCA. At Disneyland, we're getting the return of the same fireworks show that they did for Pixar Fest back in 2018. And per the update from Disney, this show will include all new scenes featuring Ember and Wade from Elemental and the Red Panda, again, from Turning Red. If you're curious to know what this show might look like, as it happens, we have the fireworks show. I published it, I think, just before this video, I believe. I haven't done it yet, but that's the expectation. We've got the full fireworks show. If you want to see it together forever, as it happened in 2018, watch it right here on Fresh Baked. So we got a new parade, a new-ish fireworks show, a fireworks show that we've only seen once before in the history of Disneyland, or for one season anyway. And then, of course, like Star Wars Day or Season of the Force, we've got seasonal food and drinks and merchandise. Now, this actually is probably a good time to talk about the idea that some might have that this is kind of a no big deal announcement. That why am I fussing about this? It's old shows, they're retread shows. But for me, it's more than that. It shows that they're at least trying. I realize it's not a home run or even a double. You know what I mean? They're getting on base, okay? That's the important thing. I was prepared for nothing. I was prepared for fewer shows, for no fireworks, no parades, fewer events. So seeing them bringing back Season of the Force and Pixar Fest, it tells me that they haven't given up, that there is still interest in delivering some kind of value to guests. And that's a very important concept that Disney needs to be working on right now, is delivering value, more value than we've been getting. The price of admission at Disneyland used to include a whole array of events throughout the course of the year. And over the last few years, that kind of thing has been scaled back. We've been getting less and less for our dollar, even though the cost is going up, the amount of value that we're getting for that is going down. And that is not a sustainable model for business. That is not sustainable. At some point, regardless of the cost and expense, at some point they do have to reverse that trend. So hopefully, that's what I'm taking from this, is that it is the beginning, hopefully, of a reversal of that trend. Speaking of thinking about the guest, of listening to the guest, we know that Fantasmic will be returning on May 24th. With it, a new battle scene between Sorcerer Mickey and Maleficent. One, of course, without Murphy the Dragon, which, by the way, is not Disney's fault. Through no fault of their own did they lose that dragon to a tragic fire. But it's great news, nevertheless, again, because it would not have surprised me for them to not bring back Fantasmic. I would have preferred they do it, but I would have kind of understood if they couldn't or didn't. Or at least, it would have made sense considering what we had been seeing from Disney over the past couple years. But perhaps even better than just bringing Fantasmic back, it's that they're also bringing back the Peter Pan scene. Gone will be the Pirates of the Caribbean, Jack Sparrow, Have You Seen My Compass scene on the Columbia, and back will be the Peter Pan chasing Hook around the ship with, hopefully, the Tick-Tock Croc in tow. Some people like the Peter Pan scene. I know my wife loved it, but then again, she's got a huge crush on Johnny Depp, so that makes sense. But I think the vast majority of fans of Disneyland and fans of Fantasmic much prefer the Peter Pan show. And on that, I get it. As somebody, as I mentioned, I like things to be classic and original. I get it. I would prefer, I think, to have the Peter Pan. I didn't mind the pirate scene. It was okay. but I think I would prefer Peter Pan and Hook and Wendy and all that and the Croc. That was great. That was classic Disneyland. Now, I can't say for sure what the reasons were for them making this change from dropping Pirates and bringing in Peter Pan, if it's technical or if it's budget, or if maybe they just trying to make up for the loss of Murphy by giving us something like a feel-good, kind of like the way they brought back the Main Street Electrical Parade, just to make people feel good again. I don't care. Actually, to be honest, it could be any of those reasons. The fact that they're doing it is just, it's fine with me. I'm just going to go ahead and believe that they did this because they heard guests and they went ahead and chose to listen to them, to do a thing that most guests would love. So I'm taking a lot of positives from this announcement. I really was pleasantly surprised given the predictions that I had made a few months ago about 2024. Now with that, there are still some unanswered questions about 2024. Will there be fireworks outside of Pixar Fest, for example? No mention of that is made in this announcement. And of course, one of the rumors that I had heard was that we would still be getting fireworks in 24, but only for special events. Only during this, during the Halloween, Christmas, and then the After Dark events would probably get fireworks, and sounds like Pixar Fest. So that still might be in line. That's still maybe the case this year. But one thing worth observing is that Star Wars Season of the Force begins on April 5th. Pixar Fest, meanwhile, begins 3 weeks later on April 26th. But we were promised fireworks for Season of the Force, with the music and all that. So that must mean there's some kind of fireworks happening during those 3 weeks, those first 3 weeks before Pixar Fest is set to begin. What will those fireworks be? And that actually does reconcile with a rumor that Disneyland News Today posted a day or two ago, suggesting that Wondrous, the Disney 100th anniversary fireworks show, the one that they canceled prior to, well, I don't know if cancel is the right word, they stopped doing prior to the Halloween and Christmas seasons for obvious reasons. Those seasons have their own fireworks show. But the thought was that was the last that we were ever going to see of Wondrous. The rumor there is that it's going to come back. So maybe that's what this is. I'll believe that when I see it. I'll believe that when I hear it from Disney. Okay, moving on. I mentioned After Dark events earlier. In the update, Disney mentioned that there will be 4 After Dark events between January and June. In that time frame, we'll get 4 After Dark events. They didn't specify, though, what those 4 would be, but my assumption is that they're probably going to bring back Sweethearts Night, and they're probably going to bring back Star Wars Night. Both of those would land, obviously, in that time frame as well. And I wouldn't mind, actually, if they brought back the Throwback Night. That was a great show, which leaves us one more show after that. I mean, the Princess Night, I'm not sure how well that did. And you got also Pride Night. So they actually did more than 4 last year. One of the rumors that I heard, in fact, was that we might get more After Dark events than we had in the past. But this sounds like we're getting fewer, which I think is also good news, at least for guests who don't go to After Dark events, because those events happen at the expense of guests paying full price admission for a day at the park where they have to leave. They have to be gone by like 4 o'clock. So that would be good news for those of you who are wondering about that. It sounds like 1 fewer than we had last year. By the way, that time frame, January through June, does also suggest that we should not expect a Christmas-themed After Dark event again this year. I think those events are not going to happen. That's a dead deal. What else? Okay, here's something that's really interesting. The calendar for the holiday season appears to have changed. Halloween time is starting on August 23rd. That's a full week earlier than this year, where we began on September 1st, and almost 2 weeks sooner than 2022. Meanwhile, the Christmas season is starting later than it did this year, November 15th. That's 5 days later than our November 10th start this year. Now, as for Christmas, I think you can just chalk that up to the calendar. If they start these events on a Friday. So if they were to start one on Friday in 2024, it would have to be November 8th. So they just opted for the week after that, November 15th, thinking probably, I'm assuming, because they didn't think they would be ready in time. Although, having said that, I would have to say that that the parks were like 90% ready by November 8th this year. And the same, I guess, could be true for Halloween. Although, again, if they're starting that on a Friday, why they had to go all the way back to the 23rd when they could have started it on October 30th rather than November 1st, that's curious. I just feel like that's just a choice. I just feel like They want an extra week of Halloween. And I can't really blame them because, you've got that dead period. The summer last year, or this year, I should say, the summer of 2023 was flat, dead. So, barring any other changes to how they operate in the parks, assuming they don't make any changes to Magic Keys or the reservation system, which we'll get to in a second, assuming that stays the same this year, they're going to they need to give life into the park sooner rather than later, I'm guessing. So a week quicker start would help in that case. Missing from this update is any mention of a specific date or time frame for Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Tiana is mentioned, but only that she'd be ready to go in 2024. So right now I'm assuming then that they're still thinking end of the year, winter or late fall or something like that for Bayou Adventure. Also missing, as I just alluded to earlier, no reference at all to the reservation system, other than to say reservations are required, and no reference made to the Magic Keys or selling them again, though there was a mention of all of the individual deals that they have going on right now, the $50 ticket for kids and the SoCal discount. Those were mentioned for single day and multi-day tickets, but no mention at all of Magic Keys about any plans to start selling those again. I'm hoping, fingers crossed though, that they do start selling them again this winter. And with that, let's round out the rest of the calendar. Lunar New Year is back, running from January 23rd through February 18th. Celebrate Gospel is also returning for single-day festivities on February 17th and February 24th. Food and Wine Festival will be from March 1st through April 22nd. And Coco's Plaza de la Familia will be from August 23rd through November 2nd. Exciting stuff. More exciting, at least, than what I was expecting, as I said, for 2024. Happy to have been wrong on a few of those things, and I'll be even more happy to be even more wrong if more of the things that I talked about, because that was not a lot of good news in my predictions for 24. So already we're eclipsing that a little bit. That I'm happy to hear that. So stay tuned to Fresh Bake for more updates as we learn, because there are more details coming up. There's After Dark details coming, so we got to look out for that. And then hopefully we have news about the reservation systems and the Magic Key calendars in the coming months. Stay tuned to Fresh Bake for more on that. And then follow us on Instagram at _FreshBake, on Twitter at FreshBakeDisney, that's Fresh with no E, and on TikTok at FreshBakeDisney. And if you like our show and want to show you support, please do consider joining our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/FreshBaked. Otherwise, thanks again for watching, everybody. We love you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. We'll see you in 2024 at Fresh Baked.